What's happening, guys? Happy Thursday and welcome to the Dynasty War Zone, the People's Dynasty podcast. On today's show, we're back to the Dynasty stock report. Little stock up, little stock down, and a lot of in between. So we have a very special guest tonight. We're going to introduce him in just a second. And I just want to remind you that if you're watching or listening on the Player Profiler Podcast Network or YouTube channel, please slide over and subscribe to the Dynasty Warzone podcast channel and YouTube channel. Will it be redundant? Yes. Will you get really good stuff? Yes. Like our show Waiver Wire Sniping with our guy Kyle August, the Rookie Rundown with our boy Dallas. He just dropped an episode yesterday as you're listening to this on Thursday. Lots of good stuff at the Dynasty Warzone channel. And speaking of good stuff, Wake and Take with my man Jason Allwine. You wake up, you go to YouTube, you get the notifications turned on, and you get to watch Wake and Take with my man, Jason Allwine. It's a great little show. Gets the day off on a fantasy football note. And I'll tell you who I'm getting right. I got to come up with a moniker for producer Kevin. For now, he's just producer Kevin, but you know my normal co-host. He is, in fact, the man of the hour and the man with the power. Jerry Sinclair, buddy, what's going on?
Randy, it is absolutely majestic to look at both of your faces. Not just you, which is normally great, but you are looking exponentially more intelligent with the blue light glasses on. But also Kevin's here. I am the only glassesless one.
Producer Kevin.
I have old people reading glasses that I should have busted out. I missed an opportunity there.
Yeah, so producer Kevin becoming quite the fan favorite. People like producer Kevin. They like on-air Kevin. He's still producer Kevin until we can get him a moniker like the man of the hour and the man with the power, but he's not. Kevin, man, so you had to miss last week. You know, you gave me some bullshit reason why you missed. The real reason is you were sad. You were down in the dumps. You were a little distraught that the Philadelphia Phillies lost in Game 7. They choked on a big one and came up short against those Arizona Diamondbacks.
Yeah, still sore to talk about. I was present in the house for Game 7. It was very sad. I had to take a half a day next day, mental health day. It was rough, but, we're back at it. Dynasty football season's, full swing. We're about halfway through here. Ready to talk some football. Forget baseball. The World Series is not happening right now. We're not imagining that's happening. But yes, I did get the backwards hat and half of the glasses memo. My contacts were super dry today. Also, just shout out to my own self here. I just turned 30 this week, so
let's go.
In a new decade here. So I wanted to self-promote myself here. Yeah, man. So it's been a big week. We're forgotten about the Phillies already. We're moving on to better things. That's what I'm getting.
Well, speaking of Philly, I remember like when Terrell Owens was in Philly, and it was I love me some me. It feels like Kevin right now. It feels like Kevin's like I love me some me.
He's got
but that's okay.
My 2 seconds of fame. You guys got to roll with it, on Player Profiler Network.
Well, you're going to have a lot of fun because you're going to be able to poke the bear a little bit because you were here when I was on vacation a couple weeks ago talking a little bit of smack. You were going to get your comeuppance last week. Don't know that you're going to get it this week. We'll see if you get it this week. I mentioned Wake and Take. Again, great dude, Jason Allwine. We are going a little bit later than normal because it was not your average Wednesday. But awesome to have Kevin here. So let's get our one ad out of the way. Let's get that out of the way. Let's hear a quick word from the good folks at Underdog.
It has been 2 years since Josh Larkey paved the way for fantasy gamers to start expecting positive returns from pick'em games, specifically Underdog pick'ems. And how do you do it? Well, you look at a slate and you find a great shootout or a sneaky shootout. You also look for a shit show game. 3, 4, 5, 6 guys in one game. That's right. You can do it. You can do it. And you can 100x your payout on Underdog. Think about week 1. Jets-Bills was a shit show. Did we see the Aaron Rodgers injury coming? No, but we knew the Jets have a good defense. We knew the Bills have a good defense. Why not expect the worst? And the worst is what we got. So if you had gone Dalvin Cook less than, Garrett Wilson less than, Aaron Rodgers less than, Josh Allen less than, Gabriel Davis less than, boom, 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 you can go 6 for 6. Same thing in week 2. Oh, week 2. Oh, sneaky shootout there in Philadelphia. Minnesota's going to be in comeback mode, so we'll go Cousins, Jefferson, Hawkinson, more than, Madison, less than, but also Swift, more than. Boom, 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 boom. That's how you do it with the Underdog Pick'ems, and you use promo code Underworld to get a 100% instant deposit match up to $100. You put in $100, Underdog matches that deposit up to $100 with promo code Underworld. Go start picking.
Yeah, those pick'ems are fun. I've been doing the pick'em stuff over on the Juice podcast that streams live on Fridays, and you can catch the podcast on Saturdays. So tonight we have not one, but 2 good people, bad tweets. So we're probably going to fly through the stock up, stock down. We may spend a little extra time talking about these good people with these bad tweets, but I got a double shot. So we're going to go Baby Billy tonight, Jesse and Dana White. You guys good with that?
Yeah, buddy.
Absolutely.
All right, let's get into this first one. Now this one I caught the other day. Now, mind you, we have a patron, patreon.com/Dynasty Warzone. I got a really good one from Steve Bambino. He sent me a good one. So we're going to use Steve's next week, but I already had a double shot of ridiculousness from Twitter. But here goes. Fantasy Fanatics. See, nowadays you can buy the little blue check mark, so it looks a lot more official. Got like 17 followers. I don't really care. At FFB_fanatics. And his question, I'm assuming it's a he. We're just gonna go they. We're gonna go gender neutral. They said, is Bijan approaching bust territory, averaging less than 3.5 yards per carry in his last 4 games, 0 touchdowns, 0 red zone. We like the dramatic reading. 0 red zone work. Is there some sort of underlying beef between him and Arthur Smith? I feel like there's underlying info not being told. So I'll start with producer Kevin. When you see someone say, is Bijan becoming a bust, what do you think?
I hope this guy's in any of my dynasty leagues. That's what I think. I mean, I would love to buy low on Bijan. We're talking about the best, freaking specimen, I guess, that there's been in the past decade or so. I mean, this is crazy. This is why, new Twitter with the check marks. Anybody can buy a check mark. This is crazy. This guy should have no credibility. Come on now. Plus, he did score a rushing touchdown this past week.
Jerry, I'm going to give this one to you, buddy.
There's nothing to say. It's even if you truly believe that in your heart of hearts, you know damn well it's too early. We are talking on November 1st right now. So even if you decided, you know what, I'm going to type this out, I'm going to send it to the world because I believe it, you are still doing it too early. No, you are absolutely reacting and probably piggybacking on the Arthur Smith is not helping you bandwagon. No, get the fuck out of here. I don't care. Stop it. Where are we going to draft him in a startup? In the first round?
We're going to talk about that later in the show about, who is the true RB1 in Dynasty right now, because I know a couple of guys named Kenneth Walker and Breece Hall that might want to have a word, but I'm like, what are we doing? What are we doing? What are we doing? So first of all, how many games feel free, anyone chime in. How many games has Bijan Robinson had less than 10 PPR points? One. The game that he was sick and barely played. Outside of that, he's never given you less than 10 points. How is that? He's currently on the season. I'm looking right at it in full point PPR. He is the RB11. I know that you probably weren't expecting Raheem Mostert to be ahead of him. You probably weren't expecting Isaiah Pacheco to be ahead of him. But if I told you coming into the season, he was going to be ahead of Derrick Henry, he was going to be ahead of Breece Hall, he was going to be ahead of Jahmyr Gibbs, and the guys that are ahead of him, Christian McCaffrey, he's pretty good. Last I checked,
good.
Travis Etienne having a great season. Again, Raheem Mostert, the one-off, Zach Moss. another anomaly. Alvin Kamara, DeAndre Swift, okay. But for the most part, the guy, Kyron Williams, for the most part, he's doing okay. Is he setting records? No. But this is the same knuckleheaded nonsense that we heard when a guy named Jonathan Taylor was a rookie. And he was splitting time with a guy named Marlon Mack. And Marlon Mack, I'm a Colts fan. He was equally as useless as Tyler Algier. Like tits on a boar. He was just not really there. I came up with a grandfatherly southern saying for Jerry on that one, but I was like, he's doing fine. He's fine.
Doing fine.
I mean, are you disappointed with RB11? Is that a bust? Is an RB1 overall a bust?
Take out his game, that one game where he was literally sick or whatever. You know, you're more than fine with that. Per average, if you take that out, he's definitely higher, obviously.
Well, that's what I was going to say. Is so he got 0.3 points. His average is 13.5. So if you give him 13 more, he'd go from 107.5 points up to 120. And if he had a normal workload and had his normal double digits in that game that he was sick, he'd be the RB 5 or 6, and we wouldn't be having to deal with knuckleheaded like this. Relax.
This guy
Jerry,
has 4,400 followers, by the way. I just looked.
How many?
4,400, almost 45.
Look at this guy.
Feels like anyway. At any rate, so for the the fantasy football whatever the fuck.
Good person, bad tweet. That's it's hyperbole. You're outrageous.
100%. But we have to give him something.
You know how fucking stupid you have to be to even think something like that, let alone say it publicly and act like you're fucking serious.
But that wasn't enough. That was not enough. Normally we might have put this in the trade corner, but it can't go in the trade corner. This might be the worst fantasy football trade I have ever seen, and I have seen some bad ones. And this person's got 27,000 followers, and it's at David J. Galtieri, and it's like Fantasy Guru. I don't know. I know Fantasy Receipts retweeted it. That's how it came across my radar. This thing's been seen by 259,000 people. Wow. And he says, don't care that it's 2 years away. We collect random, in quotation marks, random future firsts. And it says it's a screenshot of an underdog trade. A trade has been completed. Didn't redact his name. Proud as a sumbitch on this one. He, David J. Galtieri, got a 2026 first, and he gave up Michael Thomas, Devon Achane, Puka Nacua. Now, this is after, now mind you, this tweet came out on September 14th, 3 days after Puka had that really good game, and Devon Achane was not yet playing. But this is a horrible, and it was like process over players, bad process. You don't get to say process over players and then look back through it with, rose-colored revisionist history glasses. This is not good process. Who is listening to this cat give out dynasty advice? This is terrible. This is the drizzling shits of a trade. First of all, Devon Achane alone, forget Michael Thomas, forget Puka Nacua, forget those sumbitches. Let's focus on Devon Achane. In a 1 QB league, he's going at the back end of the first round as a rookie pick. And in a super flex, he was going like 201, 205 in that window. So if you were on the clock and you had the 201 through 205 in a super flex and someone offered you a random 26 first, you're going to tell that person to randomly go fuck themselves. So how in the name of Zeus's butthole can you think that giving up not only Devon Achane, who you spent the 201 through 205 on, and we'll just throw in a guy who just had like the best rookie wide receiver game of week 1 this year, and just a veteran in Michael Thomas. Here, you take all of these, and my process is right. I was like, what in the French fried titty fuck are we doing here? But that was my take on this. Jerry?
I don't know how I can top what in the French fried titty fuck. Let's say I'm going to play devil's advocate. let's say you don't like Devon Achane.
No, Jerry, I'm cutting you off.
And
No,
no, you're not. And let's say you don't like Puka Nacua and you want to get rid of them, Randy. I'm not the biggest Devon Achane guy, and I'm scared about the situation with Puka Nacua. But if I'm going to trade them, why in the hell am I going to package them? And why am I only getting a 2026 first? Like, if I am a person that does not care about player value and trade value, I can trade Devon Achane for somebody in that league and get a 2026 first. And I can still have Puka Nacua on my team. And I can do the exact same thing and offer somebody else a 2026 first in that league for Puka Nacua, and they're going to accept it 100 times out of 100 because that's a dipshit trade. Both singularly is a bad trade. Accepting that is floored. Wild. Is absolutely wild.
And brag about it. Just out there, just thumping the old chest. It was like, what in the?
Listen, that's bragging about shitting your pants. What it is. Like you're out and you shit your pants and you call everybody and you let them know that you were confident in a fart so much that you shit your pants and you wanted everybody to know about it.
Close. So it says process. He's about the process. This process is akin to wiping your ass and then taking a shit. That's what this deal was. Kev, I'm going to give you the final word on this because my blood pressure is rising, and I'm going to give you the last word.
Well, I'm all about trusting the process, so this is not the correct process. So two things here. Two wise gentlemen have constantly talked about this over and over. You should have a plan for about 2 years in Dynasty. You probably shouldn't go much past that. You need to not think, don't build for 2026. So that's basically taking you to your advice. This is bad process from that alone. Second, shameless plug, the Dominator app, which is very nice. You can plug in trades and stuff through Player Profiler. If you plug this in, which I just did, so if you're not familiar with it, you get points for each player. Each player has a value. Team 1, which is the players, they got 401.67 points.
Okay.
Right? That's a lot of points. So 2026 first is worth only, and this adds the +3 roster spaces. So it adds X amount of whatever. So that 2026 and the 3 empty spaces is worth 145.92. So nearly triple value you're getting. So like basically exactly what Jerry said. You probably could do even each one of these for that pick is bad.
And again, I want to be fair. This trade was done on September 14th.
Right.
Not October 14th after Devon Achane had a 56-point game. That would be being unfair. I don't care if you did it back in the spring.
Right.
I don't care if you did it during your rookie draft. It's a horrible process then. It's horrible because I've done this. I've done this trade. I did it this year in a league. I wanted to trade up to get the 204. I had to give up a 25 first. Not a 26.
It is better that it was September 14th, though. Just for the record.
I just want to be fair, but I just want to also make sure we get this out.
This motherfucker on the planet. Holy shit.
Yeah.
Dumbest motherfucker on the planet. Holy shit.
Listen, I talk a lot of shit about the Corey Coleman, Michael Thomas trade from 2016 or whenever the hell I did that, or 2014. When was that trade? I don't know. Whenever he was a rookie. That was a bad trade that I have eaten a lot of dirt on this podcast, but goodness gracious, that one's going to age worse.
Yep. That's bad. So anyway, that was good people, bad tweets. We got a couple of Dana White run-ins. It's just, I saw that and I was like, I already had the one. I already had the Bijan one. But then I saw that trade. I was like, I cannot not talk about this. I was verklempt all day at work. I was like just thinking about that trade and having to talk about it tonight. So I'm going to change the subject because like my heart's murmuring and we just need to move on. We need to go stock up, stock down. So we're going to go game by game. We're going to go a little bit quicker. Buccaneers at the Bills. My stock down was James Cook. It's just not been as good as it was. And this is not about the signing of Fat Lenny. It's nothing to do about Lombardi Lenny being signed to the practice squad. It's just really about as long as Josh Allen's alive, he's the goal line back. And I thought 2 years ago that when they gave him all this cash, this $500 million, in money, that, okay, maybe they don't want him to get the shit kicked out of him anymore. I don't think Josh Allen really cares. And a side note, how is Josh Allen not the QB1 overall in a dynasty startup? To date, he's the QB1 overall. Last year, he was the QB2 overall, but he missed a game because he lost the game against the Bengals due to the Damar Hamlin situation. The year before that and the year before that, the QB1 overall. Wow. We just don't like the QB1 overall. We don't want the QB1 overall. We want the guy who we think can be the, again, wiping your ass, then taking a shit. But my stock down was James Cook. Kevin.
I agree with all that, actually, for the record. But I am to the moon for Dalton Kincaid. It is Dalton Kincaid season. Obviously with Dalton Knox going down, it's happening, man. So just get ready. I'm excited. It's happening. It should be peppered with targets. He got his first touchdown this past week. I think they'll still use Dawson Knox a little bit when he comes back, but I think this is a very good opportunity for himself to just show out and be like, yeah, I'm the guy, and this is why he drafted me in the first round.
Gerald.
Stock up Leonard Fournette. No, I'm just kidding. Just James Cook, stock down. Just not going to be what I want him to be. He's going to be fine. Like, he's going to be one of those guys that you can plug in for a bye week, or if you got a couple flexes and you can plug him in and be fine with it, but never going to be more than that.
All right. Well, moving right along, we're going to go to the Colts. The Colts hosted the Saints here in Indianapolis, and my stock down is Chris Olave. I tweeted this out today, and I like Chris Olave. I like the draft capital. I like the talent. I like everything but the situation. This is Terry McLaurin 2.0 with better draft capital. Excellent wide receiver coming out of Ohio State. Love the talent. I mean, if at the trade deadline, which was on Tuesday, if at the trade deadline they had traded Terry McLaurin to the Kansas City Chiefs, I'm to the moon. They traded him anywhere away from Sam Howell in that offense. It's great. He's been okay. He's like the wide receiver 15, 16. But I believe, much like Chris Olave, Terry McLaurin has the heights to be in that top 5 overall on the season, but he's not going to hit that as long as he's dealing with Derek Carr. So I like Chris Olave. This is not an anti-Chris Olave take. This is what happens when you wind up in a bad spot. So that was mine. Jerry?
Mine's going to be stock up Zach Moss. Zach Moss's trade value is never going to be expensive because Jonathan Taylor is always going to be there. Bro's production's good. It's actually been better than Jonathan Taylor's because he's the one scoring the touchdowns. I mean, he is a usable asset, and to acquire him, you are always, always, always going to be able to use the fact that Jonathan Taylor is there to make him cheap for you. So he's never going to cost you a first, and right now he's probably like RB5.
The wildest part about Zach Moss is that he's the RB4 on the season, and he didn't play week 1.
Yeah.
That's the kind of start he's gotten off to. So he's a kind of guy, to Jerry's point, if you're looking to buy points, if you're a contender, wanting to get through Buypocalypse and buy a Palooza, Zach Moss might be the kind of guy you could get for like a third, maybe a 3rd and 24 and a 3rd and 25, because you're like, hey, look, I'm renting this guy. I'm going full San Francisco 49ers renting Chase Young. What about you, Kevin?
So I just want to piggyback off your Chris Olave. I saw Dave Clues tweeted out yesterday. He said Chris Olave is the Kyle Pitts of wide receivers. That I felt that in my soul. Painful. Just a lot of air yards, bad situation. Carr is kind of locked in for a little bit there. He's not going to go anywhere. He's going to be there next year too. It's not a great situation. I also want to bring up stock up. My stock up is Josh Downs. You guys brought him up last week, especially with Gardner Minshew there. He's going to get the targets. You're going to be confident starting him. He has an upside of he's going to have a good game, it seems like, regardless. And then obviously has an upside if he throws in a touchdown a little bit there to even have a really good game. If you're in a full PPR league, absolute smash. I just love him with Gardner. And then I think he was even building a rapport with A-Rich, even though his numbers were better with Gardner. But I'm just piggybacking on what you guys kind of talked about last week, so I'll just leave it at that.
For sure. And since Gardner became the locked in every week starter in week 5 over the last month of the season. Josh Downs is your wide receiver 11. Very, 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 very crazy. All right, the Jets and the Giants, which what might have been one of the ugliest games of football I have ever heard about. If you think I watched this, you're drunk. But for me, it's stock up on Breece Hall. Bad quarterback. I mean, imagine what Breece Hall would be doing right now if he had Aaron Rodgers to keep defenses honest. I mean, if you're a DC, what are you doing? Put 9 in the box, single coverage on the outside, and just dare Zach Wilson to beat you. And he's in the kid's doing it anyway. He's doing it in the passing game. He's doing it in the running game. The ACL seems to not be an issue, and he's only going to get stronger. I know people will tell you that Bijan's the RB1 in Dynasty, and I will still listen to that. I will listen to you discuss it. But the numbers are the numbers. And Breece Hall is putting up crazy numbers. And I don't think Kenneth Walker's too far off, to be real honest. But for me, his stock is way back up on Breece Hall.
Yeah, I 100% go ahead, Jerry.
No, I was just going to say that's the only person to talk about in this game, honestly. I mean, we can pick and choose something, but I mean, even on a bad rushing day, 12 carries, 17 yards, you still see 6 catches for 76 yards and a tutty. Even in a bad offense, he is still in a situation where he can do great things. I mean, he's had 11 receptions in the last 2 games. That is a floor that I want to keep. Hell yeah.
What about you, Big Kev?
I just want to bring up that basically my stock down everybody in this game.
Yes.
Except Breece. So Saquon Barkley had 36 carries. He had 3 receptions on 5 targets. So he had 39 opportunities. He had 15.8 fantasy points. That's just, I can just leave it at that.
Brutal. I mean,
Yeah.
if you have to put a Jet not named Garrett Wilson, and even Garrett Wilson, who you were counting on to be your wide receiver 1 this year, maybe your wide receiver 2 on a good team, but for a guy you were expecting that level of production, if you're not starting Garrett Wilson as like a 2-3, wide receiver 2-3 in a league, and Breece Hall, you really shouldn't be starting anybody else. It's like, do I want to start Tyler Heineke or Zach Wilson? Tyler Heineke. And speaking of quarterbacks, let's go Texans at Panthers. For me, it's stock up on Bryce Young. And that may shock people. And I know it's not been great, but I like the fact that they turned over the play calling duties to Thomas Brown. I think you're going to see a lot more motion. And you saw the offense look a little bit better. I don't want to go stock down on CJ Stroud, but we're going to talk about someone I like later who had 4 touchdowns this week. You know who it is. We're going to get to him in a minute. But this is why you don't get too high and you don't get too low on these rookie quarterbacks. Let them give you a large sample. People are out there making crazy CJ Stroud trades. You shouldn't be out there, but I think right now there's value if you need a quarterback. Like maybe you were a contender, you lost Kirk Cousins to the Achilles. It might be a good time before he strings together a couple of decent performances. I'm looking to go get some Bryce Young, but Jerry, what about you?
Mine's stocked down on Nico Collins on the road. His home road splits are absolutely wild.
Yeah.
Like his home games this year, 7 catches, 146 yards, tutty. 7 catches, 168 yards, 2 tutties. 4 catches, 80 yards. And then you see like the road games, 3 for 39, 4 for 30. Like it's mud butt. And they're home this week. So, if you're desperate, Nico Collins probably going to go off. And whenever he's away from Houston, don't you dare.
What about you, Big Kev?
I will go with, I just have to bring him up. Just continuously stock down on Miles Sanders. It's just ugly. It's just not
even relevant.
Correct. Yeah. So it's just you can't even bother throwing him in there. I think it's going to be Chuba Hubbard's backfield. Rough for Miles Sanders, man.
Just gross. I'll tell you who's not been gross, and I'm glad that he's back, is Deontay Johnson. The Jags went up to Pittsburgh, and he's right back to his old PPR goodness. Gave you 12.9 his first game back off the IR, 16.5 last week on 14 targets. This is a guy that over the course of the last couple of years has averaged around 9-10 targets a game. He's clearly not a touchdown guy. But if you're looking for like a wide receiver 2-3 that's just, especially in PPR, which most people play PPR, he's just going to fill the stat sheet week in, week out. People don't like him for whatever reason. They do not like him, but he is very, very valuable. And I would love to see him wind up in like a higher volume offense. So not that he doesn't get enough volume, but my stock up is Deontay Johnston. What about you, Kev?
I'm actually going to go, this is kind of an outside the box one. I'm going to go stock up on Christian Kirk, even though he didn't have the best game. We got a bye week, and he's been very consistent. Maybe that owner or whoever owns him might be a little worried about him and just be like, you can get him on a bye week. Christian Kirk has been out-producing Calvin Ridley all season. He's been, there's also was it a breakfast narrative? There was some kind of narrative with, him and his wife and Trevor Lawrence and his wife, they go out together. So there's a narrative on that end. I'm just really high on Christian Kirk. I just think that you should kind of buy the dip, I guess, what I'm going with here. So basically it is a buy Christian Kirk.
Jerry?
I can dig that. I was going to say Deontay Johnson, but I'm just going to say Travis Etienne deserves to be in the discussion to be Dynasty wide receiver or running back 1. I mean, in 7 of the 8 games, he's had at least 3 receptions. He's had, honestly, outside of the Kansas City game, all of those receptions, all of those games were the ones he had at least 3. He's also had at least 17 touches in every single other game. And he's scored a touchdown each of the last 4 games. He's been extremely consistent. He's catching balls. He's getting into the end zone. He's doing literally everything you want him to do, and he is 24 years old. So as far as somebody you want to build around, that's a guy.
He's been unbelievable. Unreal.
All right. Well, let's get into another trade. Let's get into a good trade because it involves me. I'm going to go full Smick. I'm going to say, let's talk about me for a minute.
That's right.
Now, this is a league where I'm in the last year of my contending window. I've got a ton of aging veterans, but we could all use more running back depth. And I had acquired via another trade. When I say a lock for the 201, there is not a greater lock for the 201 than this 201. It is the 201 without question. I sent the 201, and in return, I got DeAndre Swift and a 25 fourth. So I'm looking at Jerry's face first. So I gave up the 201, and I got back a 25 fourth because you know that I did, Jerry. You've done enough deals with me. And DeAndre Swift.
I just give you that, you greedy fuck.
Yeah, I mean, so what are your thoughts on the trade? Is that good for, I obviously loved it. It was a smash.
When was this done?
Last week, before last week's game.
Okay, so DeAndre Swift wasn't dead?
No, he wasn't dead, in jail. Hadn't went full Antonio Brown. Never go full Antonio Brown. He had never went Antonio Brown. He had not been doing crunches in his driveway. No, he's good shape.
At what point in the existence of DeAndre Swift has he ever been worth 201? And that is a real question. Never. He has never, ever. This has been a Debbie Darling since he was a twinkle in his daddy's eye. And you are going to tell me you got him as the 201 with the production that he's getting right now? In what world is that a good trade? Good job, Randy. Good job on your part.
It's well, so that it's screen snipped. So I didn't just make this trade up.
Oh, I see it.
This is screen snipped in the show sheet. Kevin, you see the show sheet. You're the producer. You always look over the show sheet.
Of course. I'm looking at it.
I actually have back sweats because I'm so upset that this trade was done.
Hey, you know what? I got to pair DeAndre Swift with Alvin Kamara and Austin Eckler, and my wide receivers are Kupp and Diggs and Ayuk and Sutton. So I got Kittle. Like I said, but this is you heard a lot of older guys, but this is my last year. I've got my chips in the middle of the table. I won this league last year. It's an industry league with a lot of other content creators. This league now, mind you, I'm 4-4 right now. I've lost the last 2 weeks by a combined 2.7 points because fucking yay. But it happens. It happens to all of us. So again, like I said this last week, we're just like you. We're Dynasty gamers. We do Dynasty content because we're Dynasty gamers. We're not just doing content because we want a social media pat on the back. We're just like you. But I just thought I would share one of my trades. So I apparently did good.
This is great work by you. I mean, we're talking about running back on the best offensive line. This is perfect, especially for a win now. You don't have to worry about where he's going next year.
And he's going to be a free agent.
You have the upside of him re-signing too, which, I think that's even plays in your favor too. Jerry's beside himself right now.
Honestly, I'm not even a DeAndre Swift guy. I'm worried about everything about him. The longevity, the injury history, all of it. At no point has that man ever been worth 201.
Well, that's the trade. I just thought, man, I thought I'd done good.
Did you send it? You had to send it, right? There's no way somebody went shopping for that and was like, "Ooh, I'm going to get 201 for DeAndre."
This was a solid team. This GM was, he had Najee Harris on the block. He had Joe Mick. Now, to his credit, he tried, but I knew he really wanted this pick because he's been collecting first, and he's about reached his full of first because people weren't going to give him any more. And I sold him on. I was like, look, dude, this is the 13th overall pick. I know it's not a first, but it might as well be. That's what got the deal done, to be quite honest.
Oh my God,
that is great salesmanship from you because
I was like, this is a loaded class. I'm like, you think about 4 or 5. This is a super flex tight end premium. I was like, we're going to have all these QBs. We're going to have the tight end from Georgia. We're going to have Marvin Harrison Jr. I was like, you're going to get a player you really like at 13 overall, and I'm just trying to win this league. And he was like, okay.
This is the difference between us, Randy. I wouldn't have had the balls to send something like this because I am too fragile to receive a middle finger emoji back from you when I send an offer like this, which is exactly what I would have given you had you sent me this nonsense.
Hey, well, I won't since it was like such a landslide in your opinion in my favor. I tried sending this exact same trade. Not for the 4th. I actually added something. I don't remember what it was. It wasn't much. I'll just be very candid. To Rich Dotson from the Dynasty Nerds. He's in this league. He had been contending the last few years, and now he's in a rebuild. I offered him the 201 and something for Travis Etienne. I have no shame.
Wow,
Send it full.
I wish he would have sent you a picture of his butthole because that's what you would have deserved.
He was, as you can only imagine with Rich, he was a pro's pro. And he was like, "No, I think I value him more than I do." I was like, "I think we're at an impasse," and I just moved on.
But it's the 13th pick.
It's the 13th. It's exactly right. It's not the 201. It's the 13th best player in this upcoming draft. Right. So anyway, that was my trade. Speaking of DeAndre Swift, obviously he was my stock up in the Eagles. At the Commandos? I like the new wrinkle in the tush push, the brotherly shove, where he got the tutty off of it the other day. So I was going to be looking to buy DeAndre Swift right now. I thought he would be tanking. I thought and a lot of people thought he'd be behind Kenneth Gainwell and whatever. Apparently, the new offensive coordinator, A.J. Brown, really likes him and allows him to touch the ball when he's not busy touching the ball. So for me, it's stock up on DeAndre Swift. What about you, Philadelphia guy, producer Kevin?
Yes, it's not great Krog for you. First off, that's a great trade, a great transition, great spot on the show. Give you credit on that. Mine is continuously stock up on AJ Brown. He is
animal.
I mean, we're talking. I mean, I think he's even kind of underrated at this point, honestly. With him also, I think the industry needs to be talking more about how he also is the offensive coordinator for the Eagles as well. But we're just talking about how many targets he's been getting. We were talking about Calvin freaking Johnson now. This man has had more 125-yard games than Calvin Johnson. Actually, no one has done this in the history of the NFL, but to be in a stat with Calvin Johnson is absolutely outrageous. Do
you want to know something wild? You want to hear a wild stat?
Of course. I love stats.
As good as his season has been, where we're going to agree, he's breaking records.
Yes.
He is averaging 3.5 less points per game than Tyreek Hill. Holy bananas. As good as that man has been killing it, he is Tyreek Hill is scoring 26.5 points per game AJ Brown, 23 points a game. Now, I would love to have 23 points a game, but that is bananas. He on the season is almost 30 points behind. Neither one of them have had a bye yet, and he's 30 points-ish behind Tyreek Hill. Jerry, what about you, big fella?
I mean, I got a pulse out of Devonta Smith. That was cool. So I guess I will say stock slightly up on Devonta Smith. But if he goes back to being a barren wasteland after this week, I'm going to be such a sad fella. And they got the Cowboys game, so they're going to have to score, I would think. So I'm really hoping that they both do it. You got to assume that A.J. Brown can't go for 125 every single game.
Have you seen A.J.
At some point, I mean, I get it.
Make the mistake I made, Jerry. He can do it.
Yeah, he can do it.
There's no point in both of us being wrong. And speaking of the Cowboys, who they play this week, they played the Rams last week. And for me, it's stock down on every pass catcher not named CeeDee Lamb. And this is not because CeeDee Lamb had like 41 PPR points. It's because the rest of these guys absolutely are not playing worth a popcorn fart right now. I mean, I was hoping Jake Turd Ferguson was going to do something. You know, Brandon Cooks had a little something. But for Dynasty, with what we do, I was kind of hoping another season removed from the knee injury and, getting further away from the knee injury with Michael Gallup. Man, these guys are all terrible. Tony Pollard's been okay, but it's been rough if your name's not CeeDee Lamb. So I just kind of like with a broad brush painted all these guys. Kevin.
My guy is, it pains me to say this, is stock down Cooper Kupp. I think that his name is not drawing enough attention to like what actually is happening, because everybody's like, Cooper Kupp, he's fine. Like maybe people are not even realizing how bad he has been over the past 2 weeks. And really, other than his one touchdown, he really hasn't been that great. He's still been getting the targets, but he's not getting the receptions, which is weird. I don't know. But also Matthew Stafford is currently hurt. I almost could guarantee he's probably not playing this week, especially with the bye coming up. I'm sure they'll sit him. But he is actually still day-to-day, so there's still a chance. But Cooper Kupp, man, he's basically had 6.9 points, nice, and 6.1 points this past week. So his last 2 games have been brutal, and that is not the type of production you want to see out of Cooper Kupp. Will he bounce back? I'm sure. But Puka Nacua, man, he's a legitimate problem and a threat to Cooper Kupp.
Jerry.
I am about to be an actual professional at this for the first time in the 5 years, because not only am I going to say my guy, I'm going to lead us into the next game. CeeDee Lamb is Dynasty wide receiver 2. It is no longer Justin Jefferson, based on Kirk Cousins being out and having no idea who that quarterback is going to be. And I still know that Dak is going to be there. I know that they're going to pass the ball to CeeDee Lamb. Randy, Vikings at Packers, stock up, stock down, sir.
Well, I mean, first of all, you just don't roll a grenade into a room like let the thing go off,
Okay.
and then
Some people are born cool as a motherfucker, and that's exactly the reaction.
And then casually walk into the next room. No, that's not how this works. I would say for me, I'm not putting CeeDee Lamb any higher than 4.
I mean, if you want to say AJ Brown, that's fine too. But it's not JJ anymore. I'm sorry.
You're absolutely right. I actually tweeted this out after the Kirk Cousins injury. We're going to get an early sample of what life is like without Kirk Cousins, because it was going to happen. They didn't trade him. They won't be able to franchise tag him. He's probably going to be going somewhere else. So we're getting ready to get a real look. And when AJ Brown, I mean, he's the offensive coordinator of the Eagles. He's best friends with Jalen Hurts. I mean, his situation's not going to get any worse. But whatever you think about Dak, he's shown the ability to get CeeDee Lamb the ball, and then Jamar Chase and Joe Burrow go without saying. So as crazy as it is to say, it's not that crazy to say. But speaking of Justin Jefferson, there was a guy, it was a Good People Bad Tweets a while ago, it was in the preseason, who said that Christian Watson had more talent than Justin Jefferson. And when the Vikings hosted the Packers, Christian Watson, is he talented? Sure. Is he scoring fantasy points? Absolutely not. And that's been a real struggle for me this year. Good friend of the show and host or moderator of the Sonic Truth podcast, Alan Seslowski of Roster Watch and RotoWire, this was his guy. And I'm not picking on him because I like Christian Watson too. It's just like Jordan Love sucks. That's it. That's all I got. Jerry, what about you? What's your stock up, stock down?
Stock down Jordan Love because Jordan Love sucks.
Can I throw out another stock up on this team?
Of course.
Is Romeo Dubes, is he the new Chris Carter? All that dude does is catch touchdowns. That's all he does. 4 for 18 and a tutty. Romeo Dubes is not leaving you hanging. He can have 18 yards, still get you a tutty. Dude, Romeo Dubs, the new Chris Carter. Kevin.
I got piggyback off of Jerry. I was very high on Jordan Love. I think I'm not ready to take the L just yet, but I traded for him actually in the Patreon league. He is my QB1 at the moment. It's a rough rebuild. Don't need to get into that, but I'm worried about.
No, Caleb Williams is your QB1, buddy.
Well, if the team I took over actually had the first, it'd be very nice. But I was lucky to inherit
classic.
my first round pick. So yeah, that person, whoever that was, shout out to them. So it's gonna be a long rebuild. Anyway, yeah, it's just been rough for Jordan Love, man, and yeah, I'm not thrilled about it. So I'll just leave it at that. Piggyback off Jerry.
Well, if there's a quarterback playing worse than Jordan Love, it could be Mac Jones, and the Patriots were at the Dolphins. But as wrong as I was, and this is me owning it, as wrong as I was about A.J. Brown, I was equally as right about Ramondre Stevenson. I'm not the kind of guy who says, I told you so, except that I really am the kind of guy who said, I told you so. I told you that 88 targets was not repeatable. I told you that 60 some odd catches was not repeatable. And yet people went into this season, he's an RB1, he's the RB10. You're RB drunk. He was never super talented. The reason why I was so anti-Ramondre Stevenson, it's the same reason why I was so anti-Trey Lance. When Sam Darnold broke my heart, I learned a lesson. When James Robinson and his lack of real athleticism and draft capital crushed me, I learned the lesson with Ramondre Stevenson. So for me, it's a big stock down Ramondre Stevenson. But Jerry, who was yours?
I mean, stock down everybody Patriots, stock up everybody Dolphins. They're all doing good, and all the Patriots are doing bad.
I'll allow it. Kevin.
Stock up Chase Claypool. No, I'm just kidding. Stock down Ramondre Stevenson. I can't really get much past that. I mean, like you said, stock down and then stock up for the whole team. Ramondre Stevenson, I'll also take a fat L on that. When you guys were talking about in the offseason, I didn't want to hear it. Fat L on my part. So, dude, it's just rough. And then Zeke has just been getting more work and cutting into that. I thought there was a chance he might get traded. He didn't. So it's just going to be ugly for here on out. I don't, Kendrick Bourne, he tore his ACL. He's out for the year, right? And
yeah,
so
which he was doing solid enough. Like if you had to plug him in, at least he was scoring for you. This next game, though.
Well, Kendrick Bourne's not even a real person. That's a made up person. Kendrick Bourne is a made up person, but I'll tell you who's not. The Falcons went to Tennessee. Tennessee had on the old school Oilers uniforms, and Will Levis absolutely stock up. Now, I was the Will Levis supporter on this show, but I don't get too high and I don't get too low. I said this earlier about C.J. Stroud and Bryce Young. You're going to have good games. There's not a lot of tape on you. But I will say this, is that if the offensive coordinator in Tennessee can keep the path simple for Will Levis, and he can just distribute the ball to Chigakonkwo, DeAndre Hopkins, Nick Westbrook-Akina. I'm not even sure Treylon Burks is a real person at this point. And Derrick Henry continues to do Derrick Henry things. Will Levis could be fine. We could really be fine. And it wasn't that many years ago that we saw Ryan Tannehill have real value in this offense. So for me, I'd stock up on Will Levis, but I'm not throwing the Will Levis ticker tape parade yet. Kevin, what about you?
Can we actually, I'm just making this up on the fly. Can we do a pump the brakes? Is that so not really stock up or stock down? Can I do a pump the brakes on Will Levis? Is that allowed?
No, absolutely not. We're full speed ahead on Will Levis. Actually, I kind of quasi pumped the brakes because I said we're not going to get too high, right. We're not going to get too low. We're going to see what he does, a short week, Thursday night against the Steelers, a good quality defense.
Right.
More to come. Jerry, what about you? I don't even want to hear about anybody else. I don't give a gosh darn about Kyle Pitts. None of those guys matters right now. We're talking Will Levis.
So.
Yeah, shout out Tyler Heineke. Fuck Desmond Ritter. We want to talk. We want to talk about Will Levis. Yeah. We don't talk about bench quarterbacks on this show. Jerry, what are your thoughts? Because you are the I don't want to say poo-pooer, but you are not as high on Will Levis as me.
We're not going to talk about Bijan Robinson approaching bust territory. He's averaging
I said Will
yards per carry. He's got 0 red zone work. I'm just kidding, FFB fanatics. I mean, I picked him up in my redraft league. I've got quarterbacks, but just in case homie wants to keep doing what he's doing, yeah. I mean, listen, like you said, not going to go super crazy, but in your very first NFL game, you were able to throw 4 touchdowns, and the way you did it, which is exactly what I wanted to see. DeAndre Hopkins exists in the world, and when you are a rookie playing in your first game, and you go, you know what? Fuck it, DeAndre's down there. That's exactly how you should do it.
You think
you don't want to get cute because you don't want to.
CJ Stroud, Bryce Young would like to have a DeAndre Hopkins right now?
Absolutely.
Will straight up made DeAndre Hopkins relevant by himself.
Well, I mean,
100%.
Absolutely, yeah. 100%.
Remember this in future drafts. It's not always going to work out this way. Big arm, high IQ are always a combination you want to be on the right side of. Remember, Will Levis was accepted into every Ivy League college in America. He's not dumb. He's got the big arm. He does put mayonnaise in coffee. He does eat bananas without the peel.
I still can't get over it.
But you know what? Maybe Tennessee in the offseason, because they're going to have this young nucleus. They're going to have, like I said, Chigakonkwo. They're going to have Traylon. Maybe they'll replace Traylon Burks with Will Shepherd. And that's who Dallas is here this week to break down for us in the prospect premonition portion of the program. I nailed it.
Hello and welcome to this week's episode of the DWZ. That's right, the Dynasty Warzone's very own prospect premonition segment. As always, I am your host, Dallas. You can find me on all the socials at Salad Galore. That is Dallas spelled backwards with the double L Galore. Guys, it's great to be back here with another segment here on a prospect in the 2024 rookie class. So for those of you that have not been following along, this may be your first little session here with the prospect premonition. This is where each week I look into my crystal ball and give you the details, the nitty gritty of a college football prospect in the 2024 class, destined to be a part of your dynasty teams for years to come, guys. I'm not talking about the big name players that everyone knows about. I'm talking about the guys in your second round, the guys in your third round that everyone's going to be talking about in a couple of months. But guess what? I'm giving you the head start on it to know who to avoid, who to be diving into, who to get those Devy shares if you're in those Devy leagues on. So if you've been following along, like I said, I've been doing this for now 7 weeks, including the wide receiver I will be talking about today. And this will be the second wide receiver in total that I will be diving into. This is a type of profile that you're going to find pretty heavily in this year's rookie class. Last year was the year of the small, shifty wide receiver. A lot of undersized guys, the Josh Downs, the Zay Flowers, that type of wide receiver, the Jordan Addisons, slightly underweight, very good at separating. But this year, you're going to find a lot of big-bodied ballers on the outside that could potentially be playing the true X role on a lot of your favorite NFL teams. I'm going to talk about one of those guys today in the form of Will Shepherd, senior wide receiver, Vanderbilt University. This guy is a big old boy, 6'3.5". He's sitting right around 210 right now in his senior year, and he has been a constant year in, year out producer, and really the only positive thing on the Vanderbilt team. Extremely reliable, very solid hands, and moves very well for a guy that size. Realistically, he's going to be a low 4.4 guy. And that's saying something at that size. He's the height, weight, speed combo that everyone drools after when it comes to NFL wide receivers. And when he has the ball in his hands, He's a true catch and run threat, which is what everyone wants their guys to be. He's a better catcher than what Quentin Johnston was last year, and he can play a very similar role to what we were hoping Quentin Johnston would be in the NFL for the Chargers. Catch and run is great. Very, very strong hands and very good at circus catches. His ability to track the ball outside the hash marks on the outside is what's really impressive for a lot of people. He'll be coming into the NFL. The biggest knock on him is not a lot of route tree diversity is what I would say. And then there's question marks for some reason about his play speed. But if you watch his yak ability, that's the type of thing that I want to quell. So you're going to see it a lot. People will say, we don't know how fast he is. He's a big guy. He plays for Vanderbilt. I think he just might be a slow outside receiver. Watch the tape yourself, guys. You'll realize that Will Shepherd on the outside pulls away from DBs significantly smaller than him. He pulls away from players on Alabama who we know are not slow at the DB position. And his ability to separate is very nuanced. So I like to give you guys comps, kind of floor ceilings. Look at what you're looking for. A guy from last year's class that I liked quite a bit due to his ability to separate, being a larger wide receiver, is Xavier Hutchinson. I see a lot of the same separation techniques that I saw with Xavier Hutchinson coming out that I see with Will Shepherd. But what I really see is a smoothness deep down the field and separating at the second level, specifically in that intermediate range, right around the 15-yard marks. The ability to separate and gain distance between him and the first initial, the DB that is on him, very reminiscent of T. Higgins in college. So again, I never call these players exactly what their comps are. I'm just letting you know. So when I was watching T in college coming out of Clemson, I saw a guy that was very smooth. It was the word association game that I like to play with my players, what I classified him as. I see very similar aspects to a guy like Will Shepherd's game. But what I didn't see from T was that run after catch ability. You see it a lot with Will Shepherd. The biggest issue I personally have that a lot of people don't talk about is that he is fast. He can separate at the intermediate level. But if he's put into press man coverage, which is not often due to the fact where not a lot of receivers can be press manned and not a lot of DBs can effectively run a press man system, there are issues. He gets a little locked in where he tries to kind of bully ball, and it almost is like he's trying to block the DB who's trying to block him. It's a little bit weird. You'll see it a couple of times on tape, so I will caution you on that. But when I'm looking at Will Shepherd, I see a guy on the outside that a lot of people are not talking about due to how many big name, big body wide receivers are in this class that everyone should be paying attention to. He's the type of profile like Puka Nacua was past year, where he's going a little bit underneath the radar. There's not any glaring holes inside of his game, and he could very well play a big part for your dynasty teams in the future. So again, as I said, and as I always say here on the Prospect Premonition, looked into the crystal ball, I've seen success, and now you have seen it too. Go out and do with that information what you will. Until next week, stay tuned for future rookie rundown pods. There's one in the making right now for the rookie report cards at the halfway mark of the season, and then get excited for the second quarterback of this year's Prospect Premonition on next week's episode. I'll talk to you guys later.
Wow, you got to love a guy who promotes his own shit. Dallas got his shit in. It's if you like knowing about the rookies like now, like if you're wanting to get a step ahead of being a step ahead and you want to know more about this, that's where you subscribe to the Dynasty Warzone YouTube and podcast channel. Dallas does full episodes. He breaks down the rookies. He's currently done a rookie report card midway through the season. Good stuff from my man Dallas. All right, let's get this going. But we need one more break. And you mentioned it earlier there. The Dynasty, the DFS Dominator. Let's talk about that one.
DFS getting harder every year, but we're here to make it easier with the DFS Dominator, because I know a lot of optimizers keep coming out. Oh, our optimizer. What about this optimizer? But that optimizer. Well, we have a cash game optimizer that leverages the projections from Dario, Billy, the award-winning projections at playerprofiler.com, and builds the best lineups for cash games that have both upside and stability, because that's what you want. It's a couple clicks, boom, boom, boom. You get the best possible lineup for your cash games. But for tournaments, traditional optimizers don't work. That's why we have a lineup genius, which takes you through the process of building lineups the way they should be built. Which quarterbacks you want to be overweight on, then building stacks, then setting runbacks, then optimizing, and generating up to 150 lineups that you can easily import into DraftKings, into FanDuel. That's the DFS Dominator. It's only $45 a year. Not a week. A year. A year. Just go to Player Profiler, click on the DFS Dominator from the menu, and you won't be sorry.
There you go. For all you DFS gamers, maybe your Dynasty team is in the toilet, and you're looking for something to get you by, get your nipples tingling a little bit. Maybe you wanted to get into some DFS, and the DFS Dominator might be the way to do it. Speaking of tingly nipples, my nipples are tingling over Kenneth Walker. Browns at the Seahawks. Dude, Kenneth Walker, just a dog. Zach Charbonnet, no problem. Tough schedule to date, no problem. Not much gets in the way of Kenneth Walker. And I'm telling you, that's the big three. We talked about the wide receivers earlier. For me right now, in Dynasty at the running back position, got to be Kenneth Walker. It's got to be Breece Hall. It's got to be Bijan Robinson. Guy's a dog. Jerry, you went to school with him.
I mean, I love K9. You're not going to get anything out of me that's going to be anything but positivity and tingly nipples, which is obviously going to absolutely get me riled up.
What about you, Kev? Kev's still new. He doesn't know where the unmute button is.
He pulled the Jerry finally.
Never go full Jerry. Earlier we told you not to go full Antonio Brown. Also never go full Jerry.
Never go full either. Shout out that. So I'm going to flip the script on the other side. Cleveland Browns. Elijah Moore. I'm tired of all this crap we've been hearing on the off season. Yeah, exactly what Jerry's doing. If you're not watching on YouTube, see ya. He's been so horrific. I'm tired of it. You can't even I mean, you got to roster him, obviously, in Dynasty, but, man, he has just been so rough. 36 yards receiving a game. He's now, they're trying to get him creative and, just basically just throw him back on punts. The targets are there, and just the points aren't there. It's just been beyond frustrating. You can tell I am frustrated. It's been rough, man. So, it's more like stock see ya.
All right. Well, let's go to the Denver Broncos, surprising everybody when they hosted the Kansas City Chiefs, and they won. And on the show sheet, I put stock up Courtland Sutton and 3 question marks. It's like he's the wide receiver 23 on the season. Outside of a stinker in week 5, he's done pretty well. He's been in double digits every single game. Now, he's getting the touchdowns, but if I told you on the season that, hey, midway through the season, Courtland Sutton's going to have more PPR points than Jalen Waddle, you would have told me I was either smoking crack or full of shit. Right. Well, I'm not either. This is where we're at. So I'm not sure that I'm going to say stock up on Courtland Sutton, but if you're looking for a veteran to buy that I don't think much is going to change except maybe for the better, it's Courtland Sutton. That's my guy, Kev. Who's yours?
I kind of want to capitulate a little bit and go with stock up on Javonte Williams, who I've been constantly kind of crapping on the show. So I want to say, let's flip this around. So it's looking like he is absolutely the bell cow. Rush share out the butt for the first running backs. 27 carries. Now, they were ahead, positive game script, so that's different. But the fact that, he's clearly, it seems like he's healthy now, and they're definitely trusting him a lot more. I mean, he's even getting 4 and 3 targets the last 2 games. Sean Payton clearly trusts him, and I think they're ready to ramp him all the way up, and it's just wheels up for him. So, yeah.
Great time to buy because he is only getting healthier from and I love the call on the here's his targets. Now he missed a game and a half, but 6, 3, 3, 3, 4, 3. 22 targets. He's played a total of he's getting 3 targets a game. Yeah. Can't beat it. Jerry?
That was going to be my guy too. I mean, it hasn't been the most efficient that you want to see. I mean, but also if you beat the Kansas City Chiefs and you're the Denver Broncos and you've struggled the way that you have, and you could see what can get you wins, give him the ball more. I don't want to be overanalyzing this too much.
I'm going to write that down.
If you do something and it helps you beat the defending Super Bowl champion, you should continue to do that. I would like to see him get a little bit more yardage when he catches the ball, because he is getting, like Kev said, about 3 a game. He's just not doing anything with it. Now, he got into the end zone, but it's like 15 yards like every game. I have been trotting him out in a flex league, and every time sometimes you're watching the score. Do you scoreboard watch when you play?
Constantly.
Okay. So
Yeah,
I do
obsessively.
yes, like it's meth.
Yes.
And if you have watched Javonte Williams' scoreboard, you have watched that number go from 3.7 to 4.1, and then it stays at 4.1 until about the fourth quarter, and then you get it up to like 9. And that's a little frustrating, but it is nice to see that he is finally getting a ton of workload. They're seeing that he's healthy. Good
I think you can
news.
still get him for cheap too, because like Memphis
100%.
said, pretty much he really hasn't had a great game besides this past week. Now's the time.
The move to get him is actually after this week. Like maybe someone that you're trying to get rid of has a good game. You can package them up, because he's not going to have a good game because he ain't got no game because they're on bye this week. But I'll tell you who I can't wait to watch play this week, and that's stock up on Trey McMotherfucking McBride. This guy came out and he absolutely did everything that I thought he was going to do in this offense. We got rid of that dusty-ass duster, Zach Ertz. He's gone. He's out of the way. This guy had 6 targets 2 weeks ago, 14 targets. Did you see the touchdown? How he just drove the legs and the teammates helped push him into the end zone. 14 targets, and he might be getting Kyler Murray back. Everything's coming up Trey McBride. I hope you listened in the offseason, because you can't get him now. You can't. It's like how they do this in court. Like the good defense attorneys, like they just blurt something out and they wait for someone to say objection, and the judge will say strike it from the record. But they can't strike it from the record because you can't unhear it. You can't unsee Trey McBride dominating last week. Super excited. That's my guy, Kevin.
I'm just going to retweet that, or whatever Twitter and X calls it now. I mean, the time of bye was 2 weeks ago, and even last week was going to be difficult. That window is absolutely closed. Like you said, Kyler Murray, I think Clayton Tune might get the start this week. Dobbs obviously is out of town.
Don't care if it's Al Toon.
Right, exactly.
I'm playing Trey McBride.
Yeah, exactly. Just throw him in that slot. Wheels up for Trey McBride. He's got some talent, man.
What about you, Gerald?
Well, Randy apparently has a history knowing exactly how defense attorneys work. I think my guy's going to be stock up Gus Edwards, man. I mean, bro had 3 touchdowns. He had an 80-yard reception last week, plus he had another tutty. I mean, he's the guy there right now. He's going to be cheap for you to get. He's also, he's Gus Edwards. But if you can plug him in and you can get some points and he's not going to cost you a lot, if you're a contender, why would you not do that?
And I'm not going to ruin the tweet.
For a long time, no, I'm not trusting him.
But go find Cooter Doodle. She works with Matthew Berry's Fantasy Life. Go find her Gus Edwards tweet. Thank me later. All right. Bengals at 49ers. For me, it's stock down on Brock Purdy. Not like crashing the floor. And, he was playing with a concussion. It looked like he got knocked again somewhere throughout the game, but he just looks off. But they need him to be good. They need him to be good at football. And I don't think they want to go away from him, because you know how it is with confidence and young QBs. But from a fantasy standpoint, it's got to be stock down. Jerry, what about your guy? Stock up, stock down this game?
Mine is going to be stock down Joe Mixon, even though he actually had his best game, because you finally got some points out of him. Now's the time to get rid of him. He is absolutely what Ezekiel Elliott was in his last year at Dallas. Like he's getting a lot of the work. He's doing absolutely nothing with it. He's finally done a little bit, and he's 27. Again, like I'm good on Joe Mixon. Now is the time. You got a good 5 years out of him.
He's a mid RB2, but he's had his bye. So to be fair,
But his name makes him more expensive.
This is true. Now let me ask you a question. I don't want to lengthen this show too much, but we talked about taking another running back who was scoring points and adding something to them to go get Javonte Williams. Is this the kind of move that you could make? Is like Joe Mixon plus a second, Joe Mixon plus something to go get Javonte Williams? Is that the kind of move that you're wanting to make?
I think you could probably do it straight up, but absolutely I would do that for sure.
I was even wondering if you could maybe even offer it straight up.
I mean, you can always try. You might find someone who's 4-4 or 3-5, and they're trying.
Or they have the 201 because everybody knows the 201 is worth a pot of gold.
And you got to make sure you get a fourth back, Jerry.
Depends on make sure you get a fourth back too. You selling me light. All right, I'm just going to keep going. Bears at Chargers, and I just wrote, can we just make fun of Quentin Johnston for 3 minutes? Can we just do that? We'll just make fun of Quentin Johnston for 3 minutes. Kevin?
Yeah. I mean, Simi Fehoko stock up, right? Touchdown.
Obviously.
If you're a Quentin Johnson manager and you're watching that happen, like, what are your thoughts? I think Theo tweeted something like that. Are we kidding here? Like,
it's like he had 5 for 50, so I guess it was a career high across the board.
Yeah.
And Josh Palmer, twisted a knee, so maybe.
I think it has to it's not going to be fun, but it's a great passing offense. You can't just pass to Eckler and Keenan Allen every single time. I mean, you kind of can.
You can't prove that.
That's true. I guess you can't. But
with Justin Herbert's tendencies and Kellen Moore's play calling, anything's possible. Jerry, who is your guy from this game, or do you just want to make fun of Quentin Johnston?
No, it's got to be Quentin Johnston. But I mean, listen, it's nice that he showed me something.
6
right?
targets?
Like jokes aside, he did some stuff. Nothing great. Nothing that showed me he's special. Nothing that showed me that I'm going to be able to rely on him in the Dynasty playoffs. Nothing that suggests he's going to be a championship caliber asset to build around. I mean, what are we doing? I mean, Treylon Burks has had a couple of games where he's had 5 receptions for 50 yards too. I'm going to need to see about a month's worth of it. And I'm going to need to see it when you've actually got competition too. Because right now you got Mike Williams that for all intents and purposes, for dynasty reasons, is dead. You got Palmer who was out. I would hope you could show me something. I got a little bit. I got a little nibble of just something, but we're not even close to being considered to 106 or 107 or 109 or wherever the hell you took him.
You know who has been showing us something? A guy rocking Honolulu blue, maybe the hottest stock in all of Dynasty fantasy football right now. It's Jahmyr Gibbs. Over the last 2 games, something slight, as my son would say. 56 points, 29.3, 27 flat. Ironically, the only person who's... Oh, I'm sorry, I take that back. He is number 1. He's edged out Alvin Kamara. Jerry, you've got to be excited as a Lions fan. And where do you put him in like your Dynasty RB rankings? We mentioned Walker, Hall, Bijan. He's got to be 4, right? 4, 5, maybe JT right there in that mix.
I mean, I would rather have JT, even with his struggles, but I am a little worried that when David Montgomery comes back, David Montgomery is going to get, you can say no all you want, but where the Lions struggled on Monday night was exactly what David Montgomery is good at. We got to the red zone. We got 5 yards from pay dirt, and we pooped our pants every single time. I mean, there is going to be... Listen, I'm not going to say Jahmyr Gibbs is not a fucking maniac. His touchdown, 100 times out of 100, David Montgomery gets 3 yards on that play. And Jahmyr Gibbs said, whoop, 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 and he bounced it outside, and he took off, and oh my God. Unbelievable, but David Montgomery is going to piss you off. That's not me trying to be devil's advocate. I am telling you. I'm going to
debunk that. I'm going to debunk that here in a minute. But I'm going to let Kevin. I'm going to let Kevin break the tie.
You know it pained them to give Jahmyr Gibbs 26 carries. They were just wishing that David Montgomery was there the whole entire time.
I mean, Craig Reynolds got 12 or 14 carries or something.
Right. And Craig actually he punched that one in and then it got called back. He was so pumped. I felt bad. And then you missed the field goal. Like, so no, I 100% agree with Jerry. David Montgomery, it's just going to be the way it is, which stinks because honestly, if he was wheels up like this every week, I think I would put him at the RB1, like overall,
I agree.
maybe even. And it's not going to happen. It's just, they've consistently said, we need a guy that is the in between the tackles guy and not an explosion guy. Like basically, like they are going to build their offense around David Montgomery. My stock down though is, well, first off, Aiden McConnell is now the new quarterback of the Las Vegas Raiders, who have fired everybody. And I'm just not thrilled to be a Devontae Adams manager in a win now contending team. So I'm stocked down on specifically Devontae Adams. It's not probably my price I paid for him last season is not going to pay off. And as I'm, trucking towards the playoffs, I'm not thrilled right now. So this is not a great spot to be in.
I also went on a diatribe about Gibbs, and I'll let you talk, Randy. But my stock down was Jamison Williams, just for the record. He's not it. He had the 2 catches, I think. He's not it. And that's why they brought in DPJ, which says everything you need to know about him. Anyway, Randy.
Well, several things. You're both correct in that Craig Reynolds is exactly why Jahmyr Gibbs is unaffected. Dan Campbell, as a young up-and-coming coach, worked under a guy, maybe you've heard of him, his name's Sean Payton. He was in New Orleans in 2017 when they saw how they deployed a running back, who was a rookie, by the way, named Alvin Kamara. And he shared a backfield with an older gent named Mark Ingram. Those guys on the season one finished as the RB3 overall on that season, and the other finished as the RB6. This offense has seen what Jahmyr Gibbs brings to the table. Now, I'm not telling you he's going to give you 27.6 and 29.9 points a game when David Montgomery gets back, but they can be successful, including him in the passing game. He's had 20 targets in his last 3 games, and I don't think that changes when David Montgomery comes back. Yeah, I don't think he's going to get, nor do I want him, by the way, to get 26 rushes. I don't want that. I don't want it for Javonte Williams, to be quite honest. If you can tell me a guy's going to get 5 targets and 18 touches, I'm totally cool with that. So he doesn't need as much as he had to get the other night. And I think he can be just as good. He can be that 16 to 18 PPR point per game scorer. And I think you're going to look back and go, man, I undersold.
No. I agree exactly with what you're saying. I was just saying that what we saw is not what we're going to get. But he doesn't need it, which you are correct. But when it comes to the goal line work, David Montgomery's going to steal it, and he's going to be a pain in the ass.
I am very impressed with the last 3 games. He's had 5.8 yards a carry. He's really been running because he looked like his vision was like
this is all the same stuff we did with Jonathan Taylor as a rookie. We got so caught up in Marlon Mack that and people were like, is he a bust? And some of these things take time, guys. But you know what's taking time? This podcast is taking more time than normal. But that's okay. We had a lot to cover. We had a double dose of good people, bad tweets. We gave a shout out to Cooter Doodle. I mean, we just been going. But Kevin, thank you so much for jumping on. Jerry, dynamite as always. That broadcasting school is really paying off. And we're going to get out of here, but we're going to remind you real quick that we do have a patron, patreon.com/Dynasty Warzone. This year, like if you join now, we're going to have orphans. We'll put you at the top of the list. And if you join now, we'll give you that orphan at our cost. We'll pay the entry fee if you join the Patreon. I don't know which one. It could be an ugly one like Kevin's.
It's going to be one of Randy's teams because they're going to be bad.
Absolutely not. All my teams are great. Everybody knows that. This is not new. Also, if you like the stuff from Dallas, you like the podcast, you want to support us without joining the patron, cool. Go over to YouTube, subscribe to the Player Profiler YouTube channel, subscribe to the Dynasty Warzone YouTube channel, and then repeat that process with your audio, Player Profiler and Dynasty Warzone. These are all of the things that help the show. And I know you want to help the show because you listen to an hour and 20 minutes of show. And it was a good show. Kevin, man, thank you for dropping by.
Always a pleasure.
I mean, you kind of have to be here.
Yeah, that's right.
I mean, Matt, Theo, and Billy like pay you to like produce the show. So you kind of have to be here. And then
Right.
Jerry, of course, no Detroit hat, but you still hit a home run.
No, I'm washing it currently. So I was actually upset, very, very upset that I didn't have it.
He's
Keep,
not
keep,
the
keep
baseball
an eye on that
references.
bill. Keep an eye on that bill.
Oh, I got it in the little case. Don't worry.
Okay.
Don't
Say
worry about
perfect.
that.
You don't. You know,
and if I screwed it up, I'm going to have to pay another
I mean,
$45 to get another one.
I know you're a man of both
Unbelievable
wealth
ripoff.
and taste, and
Yeah,
that you only rock New Era hats. I understand you're fitted, but New Era committed. But that's the show. How about that? That's the show. That's what we got. So we're gonna get out of here. Kevin's got to go produce it. I got to go get the audio up there, and Jerry's got to go hang out with the lovely Mrs. Jerry. So on behalf of Jerry, the man of the hour and the man with the power, and on behalf of producer Kevin, I am Memphis. Remember, here at the Dynasty Warzone, we're all just trying to make the world a better place for fantasy football. We'll see you back here with more shenanigans next week.